talk about how to make our sweating better. So, in lesson 3, we were talking about using flam taps, right? And running them through the quintuplet grid. So just to go back, a flam tap is just flam, tap, flam, tap, flam, tap, flam, tap. And that's in 4. So if you go right, so now let's think about that in context of the song, right? So how do we place this inside the song so that it's less random, and that way there'll be less confusion in our mind, right? Because it's hard to improvise when you're a little confused. It's good to have a proper roadmap and kind of see from there. So if we look at the song, it's in quarter time, and there's a lot of double kicks, right? There's a lot of, right? So logic would have you, or logic would want you to see that the best place to insert is actually off of your kick, right? So let's say you're playing you see, it sounds like nothing changed, but something changed. Not everything changed, where it's like, whoa, what's going on, right? So now let's take it one step farther. How else can we use a double flam within the context of sweating to make it useful to us, so it's not just random, right? Because Dana is a smart guy. He's a smart musician. He went to Berkeley. He was a pastor's son, and he was the house drummer. You know, like since for as long as he can think, he was thinking about music and pleasing the crowd. He wasn't playing inside his basement, you know. He was playing in church to people. So he had to think smart and not be random and get guys that know less than him confused. Which is what some busy stuff, like, it can have that effect, right? Like, back maybe 4 years back when I had Andy Prado Jr. and all these guys, I was friends with them on Facebook, and some of the stuff that they did, I didn't really get why everyone was like, whoa, this is beyond, you know? Like, I just saw it as fast stuff. Like, I didn't get it. But now that I've studied more, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, right? But I digress. So let's go back to another smart way to use double flams, but that's different. So let's say you're playing and you want to displace your first kick, right? Well, you can just do that, right? Kick on the left hand. But something else that you probably have in your bag, right, is an inverted double roll, right? I mean, an inverted double stroke roll. So that is, right, single. So now we take that and add a double kick. How it's kind of changing with a purpose, because the kick changes but so do the hi-hat decorations, right? So it's less random than if just one thing changes, and it's kind of like a bit more jarring, as here it's all part of the same dance, right? But that's a useful way of using flam taps, which you might have never thought, right? Of using your inverted double roll as flam taps. It works good. It works good. So now that we've went through our flam taps and how to use those, right? Now let's talk a bit about the fills, because the fills are rather particular in each of his songs, but especially Sweatn. So the way that I view these fills is more of it's almost like high-end cuisine, where like it's deconstructed rudiments, right? So like there's a lot of ways to view this, but like all of his fills that are on the floor tom, the snare, and the kick, and that are short fills, right? Not his big ones, but the short fills, like this is the way that they work. The same concept, the whole song, quarter time. Upbeat, downbeat. Upbeat, no, downbeat, upbeat. Downbeat, upbeat. Right? So you have a downbeat, and then you have a fill. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Now go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? And now realize that you can fit a triplet there, or 2 notes, or one note, or 7 notes, and then we're gonna go to the 3 notes, which is what he is doing. But look. So now that we've gotten used to playing stuff there, now it's time to play 2 rates within that small space. And that's like I had done with the last fill. I did a quarter kick and then some triplets, right? And that's when you're gonna get that feeling inside most of those fills. And the space is everything. And since this is my first touch-up day, as you saw, I was weak for a couple bars till I warmed up and was like, okay, then I set my my like brain to, okay, now what am I trying to like do, you know, now that my hands are moving when I'm telling them to. But anyway, so now that's how I would go about playing those fills. They're all based on triplet and just doing different variations. All of those, but then also deconstructing the radamakyu, right? With like his foot, you know. So like if you go. Another thing I want to talk about regarding Dana is not so much this song, but in the song Eldritch. In that song, there's a particular type of fill that I realized was going on, and it was really the start of my trajectory towards noticing what people are doing, right? And then being like, oh, this is what my like high school friend that won all those drum competitions like did, and oh, that's another thing he did. But seeing and getting it, right? So one of the things that he does is these big triplet fills across the bar line. So that song, it's pretty basic. It's just funk. There's one bar, and the second bar goes right, but he's doing stuff, and it's how much different stuff you can do over one bar of funk and one bar of right. But the fills are all big fills with a lot of space. And the song is fast, you know, it's slow but fast because he's playing in 30-second notes. So when he's playing these big sixes, it's quite a ways away from 32. Right? 6 and 32, we can both agree is far apart, especially if you have the mindset of every rate counts. All rates matter, right? I mean, Black Lives Matter. Well, also, all rates matter. Especially the 6. Especially the carbon, the 666. My point being, if you want to sound like Dana, you can also throw in those kind of fills because he does them a lot. However, right, we've already talked about how most of the fills in sweatn that are small are these floor tom deconstructed rudiments, and the big fills are all the fast 12s off of using naningo and bembe and frddd and all of your 6 type of stickings, and then going back. Because it really is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Like, it's all one. It's all pulse. And as long as you have the same pulse and the right space between your notes and the right feeling, like, that's all that counts. And then it becomes transferring the same feeling to different stickings and sort of realizing that, like, there's two types of feeling, right? There's the way it feels to play stuff, whether it's comfortable or not for you, right? And all of that jazz and just you. But then there's also the feeling outside of you. And that's what the listener has, because he doesn't have what you feel. Whether you feel good might not count as to whether this feels good, right? Depending on the genre and what you're doing, you know. But then there's the feeling of like something across time, right? And just how that feels universally, right? The actual pattern, and just realizing the difference between that is how you're gonna find like your like pocket, you know. Now, for those that made it this far, I'm gonna give you something extra special that the others didn't get. Folkdom. So, let's go to our naningo, right? Which is the 6/8 Afro-Cuban type feel, based off of the paradiddle and not the other one, which is more the clave feel, but it's almost the same. There's one note different, right? It's just like sun and rumba. There's one note slid. But anyway, so when you think of naningo, you're thinking of something that's in 6/8, but you're feeling it in 12. You know, like it's still quarter time, like we talked about, just like this song. One bar, right? That's the downbeat, then the upbeat, right? That's the upbeat. So now, let's apply the same technique to the upbeat. So let's add one. So let's say I'm going to go, right? So instead of the last left being, right? Right? Para. Now it's gonna be para. Right? So now we're adding one more note, and we're sliding the accent to and making trick, you move one up, so now you're from 12 to 13 every 12. So you're playing 13, and the music, the click, it's playing 4/4, 12, right? Like we talked about in lesson 3, and take one away and start playing any 11 sticking you know. So the most popular 11 sticking is paradiddle 1 2 3. So you can use that. Favorite 11 sticking is 6-stroke roll, 5-stroke roll. Sweating. Take that same 6-stroke roll and 5-stroke roll and run it through the quintuplet grid as a hi-hat lick. You know, like that sounds good. It's a really cool it's a really cool launching pad for trampolining cool tricks, which is sort of how I view that kind of stuff. Like Ramon, he views it as being a swordsman. Well, I view the whole picture of like the video game Prince of Persia, you know, where you're freezing time, you're teleporting. That kind of stuff is hard. Like you really have to work on it for a small bit. But it's really fun to view drums that like way, you know, building a little movie of motion and choreography within your drumming, because that's important, right? Like the more you can with big motion, the more people are gonna respect you. Like if you look at the big jazz guys, Ari Honig, the guy plays his jazz like, you know, his loud hits are as loud as they can be, but his soft hits are as soft as they can be, and that's why he's special, you know. And like super big in that world, Jeff Clapp and all of those guys that are really high-end players, even Steve Lehman. If you look at the way he plays the cymbal, he always plays it regularly from the maximum height, you know. Like sure, back in 2000 and maybe Steve Lehman in 2020 was playing very closely as he does with his cell stuff, but when he's playing ride, you tell that he studied with Ari Honig and Dan Weiss and, you know, all of those guys. And I mean, when my friend went to music school, the only thing Nazir could like tell him is like, man, you have better clave than I do, you have deeper polyrhythms than I do, you are the best drummer in the world, you shouldn't be here, but you play your jazz ride too soft, buddy. You might be the best drummer, you know, but you play your jazz ride, and when you're on stage, it doesn't transcend how good you are to the guy in the back, you know? And I think Dana does some of that stuff, but he's far more an economy of motion type of guy, you know? That he moves for a purpose, and he moves in the direction that makes the most sense. You know, like it's all close stuff. It's not. Vector. You know what? What I don't get about the vector stuff is that vector is a word that sort of means proxy, so it doesn't really make sense. Like, it's linguistically wrong. Steve Lyman, the liar. But yeah, man, like it doesn't make sense. His vector stuff, I think it's going to create a lot of guys that play not very good pocket. As he plays amazing pocket, because he didn't learn it that way. He learned it from Ari and all those guys that teach Efren Toro. They teach harmonic time. They teach Pete Zeldman. I'm going to show you, right? So, you have two... No. let's do it this way. You have 3 and 2, right? 1, 2, right? That's 2. And then so now let's add 4. That sounds better with like click, and I've been avoiding it, but these aren't vectors, man, they're just rates. Everything has the same pulse. There's not 2 pulses. There's 1 pulse. So what are you talking about vectors? Like, you have pulse and group. And, I mean, you have rate, you have group, and you have pulse. And you can create 6D and 7D. Like, if like you're really good, this is what I'm trying to work to. This and the next month is this. Next it's gonna be this. And the whole point is like to go 2, 3, 4, 5, grouping a 7, and then start grouping 11s off of that 4 next. So now I can do that, but it's getting hard to add that 6th voice, you know? And it's kind of reverse engineering the Steve type of stuff, right? Because let's say that I am doing that, right? But now let's say that I start to exchange things and turn things slower and less slow. It becomes his jazz, you know? See, like, it becomes that stuff, you know? Like, so, like, I don't really get why, like, you have to add all these other numbers and words to words that already exist, and not only that, but you're using the words incorrectly just to feel special and have some kind of hot new thing, which, man, there's nothing new under the sun, man. And like, all respects, and my hat goes off to his work and his study, but dude, like, you know, people say, I should shut up. Perhaps it's you that should shut up and fucking, you know, pick up a fucking dictionary. Anyway, now I'm gonna practice my set and see how this has helped me play sweatn better. I hope that it's helped you, because it's sure as hell going to help.